Ready, jolly fellow at the reins. All the ballerinas dancing under pale moonlight. Come along, don't be long, it's a sight. When the wind blows, warm yourself up by the fire. All the wonders of a new world to inspire. And every loadout is golden, with every chest shining.
Yo, what's up?
And everyone knows when it's snow.
Yeah, we're right back in at the update. Let's see. What's the update there? Yeah, I don't like any of that.
Share the spirit, open your gifts with
Huh.
glee. When
Huh.
the wind blows, warm yourself up by the fire.
Let's see what the update has to offer. Who's to know what
Even more meandering and incoherent than they were
what
before.
are we doing?
He's now so paranoid and his brain is so fried from the constant input
Ah.
of Fox News, the KFC, and the unrelenting power of the sun that now he seems to think flies are buzzing around his head for
Okay.
suspicious reasons.
We'll try that. Why not? Three weapons? Yeah, probably okay.
Oh man, I can't believe a fly showed up and distracted him just because he was so long.
Definitely go fall asleep. So. Hey, that's pretty cool.
What they meant. Crooked Joe is using the deep state to spy on me. They've got bugs, little bugs with microphones. They record everything you say. First Trump's obsessed talking about bugs. Nothing.
Just saying, man. Guys are weird, man.
Trump is handily going to win Iowa despite not knowing they have flies in Iowa. It's 6 on set. Movie one. I feel like I need to explain something. Our social credit stuff is still very distracting. So that's the case is the net. So it's like go on better. Against the division rival. Great. You know, that's what we let that mentality. It's not just him, by the way. He didn't say John or security guard. We're all watching the game together at once. And I said, you mean the middle of the workday? It's affected my entire crew. Whenever the Braves hit a fly ball to the wall, I hear them all my brothers screaming. claiming he had a 100-meter run and Joe Biden tripled the music about 100 on American. I like when Trump plays tough. This guy wants to release the birds on the country, but he's flying the fight. I would trust him to handle a situation like the birds. Don't worry, everyone, the bed room is completely secure. We'll be safe from the birds as long as we keep the door closed. Oh God, there's a fly in here. Let's just open the door real quick and get the fly out. I don't think that'll backfire at all. Real quick, just like boom. Migrants are so strong, there are no actors who can play them as idiots or something. See if you can make sense of any of this, even as obvious as completely rational.
Shut up, man. I want to be something. Shut. Literally, you were let out before the stream, so you wouldn't cause a bunch of problems. Unfortunately. Second, you don't know what a phone app is? This is huge. All we have to do is just jump the grub out and we'll never leave this house again. Mr. President. No way. I'm still you have your own phone app on the Truth Social. This is like hearing you say, no one knows what a building is, it's true. I guess we should be trying to set those phone apps. You still think we're going to get technology? What the fuck is happening right now?
Remember when everyone thought
I'm so confused.
After knowing a phone app is, at least Evo is the greatest invention of all time. Imagine how we react if we walk into an Apple store. You'd probably think it's on the deck of the USS Enterprise. First Trump would probably think the genius bar is
Okay.
actual candy bar you can eat to drink your
Yeah, it was. Okay. The problems are gonna arise.
The words that come out of his mouth on a daily basis, his speeches have no substantive content, no policy content, and certainly no muscle content. This has been a closer look.
Our favorite time of year, with every round can be found a new winter crown. There's beauty in the mountains where the llamas play, the trees aglow, winds flow, a wonderland of snow.
What we're trying to say is, now that iPhone finally has RCS, we had a breakthrough. Even though I know I still have work to do, it finally feels like we're
All
on
the
the same
mats
page.
are free, piled as high as a tree. Let's break out the chug splash and puff up in a flash.
And honest, that touch is really special. Our secret begins to offer the comfort and care you need to effective development sampling, sensitive skin stays protected when our chemical emission testing process. Because when we care for their skin, we protect their bond with you. Cleaning reasons for life's most sensitive skin. Honest.
Katsuki Kakeru is a young teen with very vague origins. He was born with an odd right eye and has been forced to cover it out of embarrassment in fear of being called a freak by his peers. A few months after he was born, Kakeru lost both his parents in a fatal incident. Ever since then, he's been living with his elder sister for a few more years. However, life happened yet again, and he also lost his elder sister after she
Yeah,
took
life
his own
happens
her son. With no family
sometimes.
to protect young Kakeru, he was forced to seek refuge in the city's orphanage. Along the line, he met Yuka and became good friends with her. Having gone through the same ordeal as him, Kakeru found it easy to make friends with her. He spends a few years growing up together with her in the orphanage, and then enrolls in the city high school when they are of age. The lady with orange hair is seen meditating in front of a large fire. After a few minutes, the fire spread to other parts of the room and tore some. The girl's silhouette appears in the fire and disappears soon after. The following morning, Kakeru is seen staring at the windy sky as usual.
Love
Sits
that.
staring
Yeah.
at the sky as she stares at the
Sometimes other shit happens.
he becomes thankful for having someone
Yo,
on his side and
give me a
she'll
second.
be there for him forever. Yuka catches him staring at her and
Huh.
smiles warmly. She then asks what Kakeru was thinking, but he just couldn't say anything. Yuka gets up and urges her friend to get up and walk home with her. Tells her one girl approaches Kakeru's
Hey,
house gate
this is it.
and gets started saying sultry things to him. However, Kaori was there to kick his ass for his perverse
Yeah,
comments.
just go
As he
to
watches
thank
the
this
Hummer
dude.
goes in front of him,
Hey, what
Kakeru
you up
smiles
to?
as he also recognizes them as his
What's
friends.
that?
After joking around, the four of them walk towards the supermarket, Ayanasu, to get something as there is a sale
Yeah,
going on.
same.
Kaori asks Yuka if she would love to go to the supermarket. However, since Kaori wasn't able to go to the crowded space, Yuka wasn't going. Kaori escorts Yuka back to her company. However, she feels bad for not letting her supermarket go for one so he eventually ends up and asks you to call him back to our house. And after the call is made, on their way there, they pass through a suspended bridge in old hands. And one more the ordinary happiness. Suddenly, transported to another world. This world is an alternate dimension with a red sky and dark. Kakeru looks around and finds out everywhere is red and gold. Yuka gets very scared and she stays near Kakeru. Eventually, Yuka breaks down and starts crying. Kakeru, however, checks around to make sure everything's okay. He takes Yuka to her house in the alternate dimension and finds nothing there. Later on, they take to the streets to find someone else. They were attacked by black demons in the middle of the street. With nobody there to support or help, Kakeru and Yuka hold each other as they wait for death to come after them. Suddenly, they find themselves back in their real world with bystanders giving them puzzle books. Kakeru goes to sleep like a baby that night. However, a nightmare wakes him up and he finds Yuka by his side. Turns out Yuka couldn't sleep the previous night either as she was still scared from the ordeal. She jokes around a little bit with Kakeru and escorts him to school eventually. As they approach the school, Yuka gets a tingling feeling and stops on the way. Kakeru brings her back in order and walks her back to class. Before entering, Kakeru promises to take care of Yuka should something happen. By this time, Tadashi and Kaori were already there. They scold Kakeru for being a girl crying and make sure he doesn't do something. Kakeru rushes to class with Yuka as the bell rings. Class, the new transfer student, who's been smiling at Kakeru, Ono, is introduced to the entire class. After class that day, she ignores the plethora of boys and girls looking to find out more about her and walks over to Kakeru to say hi, almost as if she were there to smile. Yuka faints a little and cuts Momono's meeting with Kakeru short. Kakeru carries her to the clinic. On their way to the clinic, a bully bullies them, but Kakeru ignores him and goes in to see the nurse. Thankfully, Yuka was just tired from not getting enough sleep. Once she's done resting, she should be fine. Kakeru is just about to take his leave when the nurse gets up and asks him about the eye patch on the right eye. Kakeru ignores her question and heads out. After he's gone, the nurse asks Yuka if she's already dated Kakeru. Yuka is offended by what the accomplice is worth. The orange-haired girl stares and smiles as if waiting for something to happen. After getting back to normal, Kakeru escorts Yuka back to the supermarket. The nurse called. Kakeru makes sure he has a good time with his dear friend as they get back to that summer break with transporting Yuka advises Kakeru to take another route. So, Kakeru takes her to the train station and takes the subway. Yuka gets to have a nice time with the love of her life as she gets used to focus things for herself and Kakeru. She takes a break with Kakeru at the park. The duo have a moment and Yuka asks Kakeru to rest his head on her thighs. Kakeru refuses at first, but then Yuka begs him to do it. Kakeru does so and finds it incredibly soothing. While resting, Kakeru gets the feeling again and gets up to find his sister's ghost standing in front of him. In a split second, they're both back in the alternate world. The demons come back and Kakeru is trapped again with Yuka. This time, however, the boss of the demons and his assistant join in to see what's going to happen to Kakeru. As the demons get closer to Kakeru and Yuka, orange-haired girl shows up with her lightning sword to save Kakeru and Yuka from certain death. She uses the lightning effect on her sword to take down all the demons plaguing Kakeru and Yuka. After she's done, she walks over to meet Kakeru and Yuka, but then hears a weird sound. Orange-haired girl urges Yuka and Kakeru to follow her to safety. Kakeru and Yuka take a look at the weird pillars of light emanating from the middle of the alternate dimension, and then quickly rush to catch up to orange-haired girl. When they get to a safe spot, they thank the lady for helping them and ask for her real name. She introduces herself as Misuzu and tells them a little about the alternate dimension they're all in. She explains that the alternate dimension was created by an unknown person. They were chosen specifically because of one special power peculiar to them. Kakeru tells Misuzu that there's nothing special about them. However, before she could talk, they heard another sound in the distance. Misuzu traces the source of the sound to the center of the alternate dimension and decides to check it out. Kakeru and Yuka asked to check it out with her, but then Misuzu wasn't ready to let them go. Suddenly, more demons begin to attack them. Misuzu fends them and joins the other two up front so they can get to the source of the sound. They get to the center of the sound, but before entering, Misuzu tries to get
I'm
Kakeru
trying to
and Yuka to hide.
do good things.
They're man enough to get inside with her, so they continue running. Kakeru's right eye reacts to something around that region, and he stops for a little while to check it out. Soon after, he gets up to keep moving. However, it was already too late as the boss's assistant, Superbia, was already there. Superbia forbids them from getting past that point. However, when Misuzu challenges her, she takes her up on the fight and attacks her. Misuzu uses a magic spell on Superbia and teleports herself to the inner segment at the center of the alternate dimension. There, they find a beautiful maiden with white hair imprisoned in a crystal. The lady kept on begging them to release her. The lady, who's later identified as Lysette, tells them that she's being manipulated against her will. Misuzu urges Kakeru not to fall for her sweet voice, as there is something in her subconscious causing her to wreak havoc on the entire place. Yuka asks Misuzu to release Lysette from her pain, but before they do anything, the real boss and his subordinates appear in the same room. Misuzu tries
Yeah,
to
I
use
just
her
got
magic,
lucky
but it
with
doesn't
the
work in
update,
room.
bro.
The boss forbids them
That's
from
all.
resisting and instructs
But if
Superbia
y'all
to
wanna
destroy
like
Kakeru.
join in
Superbia leaps into
or
action
invite
as she's
me,
about to catch up to Kakeru. The red night ends, and Kakeru,
I'm all good.
alongside the two girls, is teleported back to the normal world. Moments after getting back to the real world, they get to a
Yes, thank you for the
discuss their
biddies, bro.
recent ordeal. While they sip some coffee, Misuzu tells them about the other 3 students she's found in the Red Night with her. After confirming that they were also fighting demons like her, Kakeru and Yuka ask to see them. However, Misuzu promises to
I'm
introduce them
kinda
to each
already
other
in my
once they return
titties.
to school.
Eh,
Kakeru thanks her and asks her the million-dollar question. Does he have any special power within him? Seeing as the boss specifically wanted him gone.
But I love
There
you,
must
bro.
be something special about him.
Now, if you wanna
Misuzu
join,
takes
it's
off
cool.
his eye patch. Kakeru does so and reveals his other eye to Misuzu. The yellow right eye weirdly tingles Misuzu. Put his patch back on. Later that evening, Kakeru is seen walking the streets
Oh,
with Yuka
fuck
talking
me.
about his hidden power. Yuka gets a little sheepish and holds his hands. Urges Kakeru not to ever leave her side. Kakeru promises to always be there no matter what. Just then, their other friends, Kiori and Tadashi, show up to say hi. After the usual hubbub, Kakeru walked over to see Momono, who was standing
God damn, that was crazy.
He resembles his dead sister, but then again, he looks again and realizes it's Momono. Momono gets into a fight with Later on, they walk into a store and find another classmate, Yukiko, working there as a receptionist. She introduces herself and also asks after their names. After introducing themselves, the trio have an awkward moment. Soon after, she serves them some nice coffee and heals the cut on her hand. Kakeru and his friend return home when it gets very dark. Yuka hugs Kakeru before getting into her house and hopes they can be together forever. But Kakeru is too worried about his power. He gets back home and has another nightmare about a wounded soldier again. He wakes up early.
Shit was crazy, bro.
In the library, Kakeru finds a weird book calling to him. Yuka joins him and distracts him a little. When he takes out the book and finds his sister's face staring at him, Kakeru quickly rushes to the back of the book rack to see his sister. But unfortunately, the ghost is already far gone. Instead, he found a note telling him that he summoned the demon. After reading the note, Kakeru's right eye starts aching. Shortly afterwards, Kakeru, Yuka, and Misuzu go outside their classroom to check out the black moon that just formed in the sky. Kakeru asks for an explanation, but then again, Misuzu still doesn't have an answer to his question. However, they quickly get back into an empty hallway to talk. Misuzu tells them to come meet her in the school if they happen to get in the alternate dimension again. Just then, the bell rings and Misuzu excuses herself to take a break. The teacher asks him a question and finds out just how far gone he is. She calls him back to order and urges him to keep his thoughts in class. Tadashi jokes around and causes the others to laugh. Kaori disciplines him. Meanwhile, Yuka keeps her sights on Kakeru as she wonders what could happen in his head. After class, Kakeru heads over to the staircase. There, he asks her to train him while he's with the sword. Misuzu, however, urges him to keep calm and avoid rushing things, or else he would regret it someday. Kakeru refuses to listen and keeps on begging Misuzu to teach him. However,
Yeah,
Misuzu can
Mark,
see the
if
haste
you
in his
wanna
eyes, so
like
she
come
refuses to
join,
teach him.
you're more than
Elsewhere,
welcome, bro.
Yukiko meets with Yuka and plays around with her hands. Yuka appreciates her smile and Yukiko keeps smiling. As they talk and gist, the bully Takahisa from earlier passes by and glances at Yukiko. Yukiko also gets up from her seat and takes a look at him as he passes her by. Yuka gets the weird vibe between them and asks if Yukiko has feelings for Takis. However, Yukiko tells him there's no such thing between them. Yukiko quickly changes the topic and places her head on Yuka's boobs to fondle. Takis, on his way to class, bumps into the school nurse who teases him about his affair with Takis tells her not to get any fuzzy ideas as there's nothing between him and Yukiko. At that moment, Momono is seen instructing Tadashi on how to arrange books in order. Apparently, both of them just became librarians, and Momono wanted to punish him for his perverse thoughts. After making fun of Tadashi, Kakeru and Yuka continue to the school's yard to do their thing. While Yuka watches, Kakeru trains himself in the way of the sword. Misuzu shows up moments later and finds Kakeru deep in training. She decides to tell him a thing or two about swordsmanship. Firstly, she takes him and Yuka to her settlement on the city's outskirts. Misuzu's family was one of the Onmyaji houses that have been
That seemed to be pretty good.
and its people for generations. Having been exposed to that trend as a youngster, Misuzu knows she has to work
Just
her way
saying.
up the ranks and make sure she gets stronger. As such, she learned foreign techniques and acquired the 5 hand
Just
techniques
saying.
which she used to acquire all 5 treasured swords. She summons the swords and shows them all to
Meow.
Yuka and Kakeru. Moving on,
What
she
meow?
mentions that she fought challengers from different bloodlines just to get her hands on such swords. After acquiring all the swords in a free and fair matchup, she gets chased out of the village as it's taboo.
I
for
wanna
just
know
one
what your
person to
meow's
own 5
about.
swords. When asked why it was so,
Yeah.
Misuzu
Yeah,
mentioned
meow,
that the
meow.
elders didn't like the fact that the youngest in the house was the sole owner of such swords, or so a woman. To make matters worse, Misuzu had fought with her father in a matchup.
God.
However, she made a mistake and
Blah, 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 blah.
which is also prohibited. This made the elders seek revenge against her, so she fled her locale
Dude.
and came to that place, her mother's house, to rest and avoid confrontation. While explaining her origins, Misuzu leaves out the part where she stabbed her father for fear of being judged. She stops the conversations, seals the swords back in, and begins Kakeru's training. Kakeru keeps training his sword slashes till nightfall. In the meantime, Yuka and Misuzu sit outside to discuss a few things. At one point, Yuka asks Misuzu what happened in the final match. Misuzu tells her about her father was never happy with her seeing as young Misuzu always admired someone who wasn't in their clan anymore. Isao Kyusuke, a former member of Misuzu's clan, was banished because she learned another foreign technique just like Misuzu did. As such, she was banished. Hopefully, Misuzu can see her again after 20 years of being banished. Before the conversation continues, Kakeru shows up and urges Misuzu to teach him how to wield a sword. Before Misuzu could say anything, Kakeru's right eye started reacting, and this sent them to the red light again. This time, Superbia and her people spot them coming, so they quickly dispatch themselves
What
to
you
go
want
fight them while the
about
boss
over
and
there, bro?
Superbia stay behind to
Hey,
watch
you
all
just
the
got
way. Misuzu, Kakeru, and Yuka come prepared as they slash, dice, and cut down all enemies in their way.
I'm
Soon
pretty
enough, the
sure
Black Knights show up to join the fight.
you
They
should
engage
just shut the
Misuzu
fuck
and
up.
her people in a little small talk, but eventually they all clash swords. Misuzu buys Kakeru and Yuka some time to run away. They take it, but then again, one of the Black Knights catches them running and chases after them. The Knight spots them cutting a corner. However, when he gets to the corner, he finds no one there. He starts searching everywhere for them and fails to find them. He stays quiet for a few minutes to trick Kakeru into thinking he's gone. Kakeru takes the bait and exposes his location. The Knight finds them in the car they were hiding in and smashes it. Before
A veces necesitas que tu camisa sirva para algo más que para trabajar, como cuando necesitas ser un hombro grande y suave donde llorar. Por eso Down hace más suave, más fresca y mejor. Down da de vida a tu ropa.
How can Experian Boost help? It finds payments I already made, like insurance, streaming, phones, to build my credit, and it's from Experian, the credit experts. More ways to build credit. Download the Experian app.
Our industry-leading nutritional supplements will help you reach your goals. Visit firstone.com.
before he can deliver the final blow. However, someone else attacks and stops him. Meanwhile, Misuzu has a hard time keeping up with Gura, the other Black Knight. She gets pinned down and almost taken out. Thankfully, someone else showed up to save her. Misuzu cuts out the knight and leaves him for dead. Kakeru opens his eyes shortly after their attacker leaves and finds his sister's
Let
ghost
them
checking
kill
him
each other
out.
first.
Moments later, they return to the real world and Kakeru takes out treatment to find their new ally,
I know.
Yukiko.
You're so
Meanwhile,
upset.
Takahisa is seen fighting the demons in the Red Knight.
Yeah,
However,
I
once
know.
the time's up, he returns to the real world and finds himself sitting in front of a convenience store. He checks his time to make sure he's not too late and returns to his house. The following day, Yukiko created the Modern Society Studies Club and introduced its new members, Misuzu, Yuka, and Kakeru to the club. While the others join in, Kakeru is seen staring at as he wonders what could be happening to his sister. Yuka calls him back to order and urges him to participate more in school activities. Yukiko continues cheering everybody on as she raises her hand and smiles cheerfully. Takahisa is seen in the nurse's office getting his injured hand dressed up. The nurse kept on asking intimidating questions, which ended up pissing Takahisa the most. Eventually, he blows things out of proportion and insults the nurse, who doesn't take it lightly. She gets very pissed and threatens to harm Takahisa. Luckily for him, he gets the memo and strands. The nurse chases after him, but she can't catch up to him. In the meantime, Misuzu and the others sit by a table to talk and discuss their recent encounter in the alternate dimension. They wonder what the boss of the demons meant back then when he called them fragments. Yukiko butts and mentions a guy that saved her earlier. The guy who calls himself the Hour of Justice. At that point, Takahisa is seen testing his pyrokinetic powers. The nurse keeps on chasing him, so he's forced to run into a room.
I'm forced
into Yukiko and
to
pushes
deal
her to
with
the ground. After getting away from the nurse, he takes a look at
that
the room
thing.
and finds Yukiko and the others. Yukiko
Whatever he
originally
is.
planned to have them all search for the Ally
I'm
of Justice,
forced to
puts the
deal
search
with
to an end and introduces him to the lot.
Yeah,
They take the guy to the
whatever.
rooftop to ask him some questions. Takahisa asks them if they have
You
any
know,
special abilities.
I'm just gonna make it
However,
work.
since they don't have anything that interests
Hey,
him, he
why are
refuses
you
to join
sniffing my
forces
toe beans?
after leaving.
I don't like
Misuzu
it.
frowns at his weird behavior, so
I don't like
calls him an ill-mannered person. However, Yukiko stops
Did
her
you
there
not
and
sniff
tells
my
her that
toe beans?
Takahisa is a very kind person. That night, Misuzu spars with Kakeru and beats him down in the first half of the fight. Kakeru gets back up and pulls himself to fight with him. However, Misuzu stops him there and urges him to use his sword and show his resolve. Only then can his sword appreciate his power and fight as his ally. Kakeru thanks her for the lesson and puts in a little more effort. Suddenly, he catches a glimpse of Misuzu's next move, which is to attack Yuka, and rushes towards Yuka to save her. When he snaps back to reality, he finds out Misuzu is still standing. However, she looks puzzled as she struggles to understand what just happened. Initially, she planned to attack Yuka just to test Kakeru's resolve.
What do you
However, since
want?
Kakeru read her moves, that must mean his right eye has the power to lead into the future. The following day, Kakeru walks Yuka to
There's
school.
no
He
way.
stops on the way and promises to always be there for Yuka and all her
Okay,
endeavors.
I get that you
They're
want
interrupted by
spring,
the class
but
clown, Tadashi,
okay.
who's still making a mess and embarrassing himself as he walks alongside
Cool.
Ono and Kiyo. After school,
I got
Kakeru
some
meets
love
with
from
Misuzu
my
on their
man.
way to the Modern Studies Club. Misuzu thinks about telling Kakeru about his powers.
He is
However,
obsessed
she
with
stops midway and gets to the room.
plastic
There,
spray.
she finds Yukiko fondling
So-
Yuka's breasts. But before they can say anything, they're transported to another world. This time, they find Takahisa engaged in a battle to save himself. After taking down a few small demons, they find out his pyrokinetic power. Shortly afterwards, a Black Knight shows up and threatens to attack them all. Misuzu tries asking for their identity, but then again, the Black Knight has nothing to say to them. So, Misuzu takes out her sword and attacks the Black Knight, who dodges all their strokes. At that point, Avarisha, the boss of the demon world, makes sure everything is clear with
8?
Superbia before commencing.
Yeah, there's somebody
Misuzu
there.
manages to hold off the Black Knight while the other three watch. Yukiko realizes the danger Misuzu is in. So, she takes off her glasses and gets ready to join the fight to help Misuzu. Moments after taking out her glasses, she speeds herself up and attacks the Black Knight with supersonic speeds, slashing him with her knives all over his body. When the Black Knight gets pissed, he catches Yukiko and throws her towards a wall. Misuzu tries checking on her, but then Yukiko shuns her away, almost as if she was a completely different person. After recuperating, she rushes in for another attack. This time, she punches the Black Knight's head. However, as she jumps into the air to make the deciding blow in video, another Black Knight shows up and stabs through her chest. After taking care of Yukiko, she joins Ira, the Black Knight, to face the other students in front of her. Just then, Takahisa shows up and burns them up. Just then, it's time to return to the normal world. Misuzu, Yuka, and Kakeru all appear in the same place. Surprisingly, they find Yukiko there almost unharmed. Yukiko takes out her glasses and puts them back. Suddenly, she transforms back to her normal self and explains her hidden ability to the lot. Apparently, she has
Well, that
impressive
was
regenerative abilities and can heal her wounds without any issues. She She also tells them that she's immortal and her split personality is the person that takes over when she removes her glasses. Yuka and the others accept her differences and welcome her to join her group. Yukiko hugs them and remembers Takehisa's words to them. She turns and thanks them very much for accepting her. Then she turns and finds Takehisa trying to sneak off. She thanks him and invites him to join the club when he feels like it. Later on, Kakeru returns outside to train himself. Just then, Yukiko shows up to tell him the bad news. Yuka had just fainted in class. Kakeru quickly rushes to the infirmary to check up on Yuka. Thankfully, he finds her awake and can talk to her. As expected, Yuka urges Kakeru not to worry too much about her. Instead, she asks about what's troubling her. Kakeru urges not to worry too much about him either. They need to focus on the most important thing at hand, and that is getting things back to normal. At that point, the nurse was already weirded out by their lovey-dovey feelings towards each other. Takehisa also gets up from a bed close to Yuka's and heads out of the infirmary. On his way down the stairs, he bumps into Yukiko, who is carrying a few bags of chips. Takehisa helps her up and returns the bag of chips. However, as he walks, he picks one for himself and continues to his class.
Let's figure
After
this
class
shit out, man.
Kakeru returns to the infirmary to check up on Yuka. He finds her getting ready to leave and helps her with it. Suddenly, the nurse, Seiko Sensei, asks Yuka why she's been getting little sleep recently. Just then, Kakeru gets the tingling feeling again. Thankfully, nothing out of the ordinary happens, but then Seiko changes the topic after realizing how sensitive she is. However, she does advise Kakeru to sing Yuka lullabies the next time she has trouble sleeping. Kakeru shrieks out of embarrassment as that wasn't his style at all. Seiko, however, tells them the importance of singing lullabies and even mentions that she does it herself for the kid she adopted to be hers. When asked who the kid is, Seiko tells them it's Takehisa, the delinquent who sneaked out. Both students are shocked as they ask for more information. Seiko chuckles and narrates her first meeting with Takehisa. It all happened one night several years ago after she was escaped a police chase. Seiko used to be an underground biker gang. As she hides in the alleyway away from the cops, she finds a bag of chips on the ground. Upon picking it up, Takehisa, who was a stray kid, lunges at her and tries to return her bag of chips. Seiko sees the horrible state he's in and feels sorry for the poor boy. So, she brings him closer to him and adopts him to be hers that night. Up until that day, she still regrets her decision that night. Nonetheless, she's still happy that she could take him off the streets, despite him being an ungrateful villain. She opens the blinds and finds her son eating a potato. She spectates him a little bit before closing it to attend to the duo. On the rooftop of the school building, Tadashi and Kaori are seen trying to get acquainted with a stray cat. The cat, however, scratches the hell out of Tadashi and runs over to Momono's side to say hi. Momono picks up the cat and checks it before adopting it. She lifts the cat into the sky and says something about the alternate dimension. The duo hear her talk and ask for more information. However, she refuses to tell them what she means. In the meantime, Kakeru and Yuka catch up and Suzu come home. Kakeru rushes towards her desk and continues training. However, Suzu pauses and tells them that the last person on getting to their club Takehisa were using stats. Kakeru says directly opposite, hoping to get closer. However, Takehisa fights him by spilling some drink on his trousers. Kakeru gets up and gives Takehisa a disgusting look. Takehisa, however, gets up and smirks and sits back down before Kakeru can react. Suzu shows up with their new member, a class BB called Kikuri. She lets Kikuri sit at their table so she can hear them explain the perks of their little group. Yukiko greets Kikuri by fondling her breasts. Yuka stops her, doing such a nefarious thing, and then brings things back to order. Just then, Yukiko introduces their new club motto, for the sake of friends and tomorrow. She says the phrase in her native language and sends warm smiles to everyone. The girls accept the motto and Yukiko asks them to say it all together. However, Takehisa gets pissed and leaves the group out of embarrassment. Yukiko tries to follow him, but Kakeru tells her to leave the dumb basket. Takehisa gets on his motorcycle and leaves the school. Meanwhile, Kakeru steps outside to think about the new motto. Yuka joins him and manages to make him smile. The duo have a good time as they get their snacks from the vending machine. Takehisa is seen riding his bike down the highway, almost as if he was leaving the city. However, he finds a weird invisible wall encircling the city, forming a dome up top and tries to pass through it. His bike gets destroyed, but then he manages to survive the fall. He checks around and finds other creatures leaving the city. It was then that he realized that he was trapped with the others in the city. Back in the club's building, Kakeru asks Misuzu to teach him the way of the sword before he gets back home. Yukiko takes Kyukuri's clothes to the bathroom so she can return them to her. Misuzu gets a little pissed by Kakeru's haste, so she decides to teach him a lesson. She intentionally drops a napkin on the floor and urges Kakeru to come after her. Kakeru rushes in blindly, but then Misuzu urges him to stop. She informs him about his habit of forgetting his surroundings and attacking blindly. Kakeru learns the valuable lesson of calmness that day. However, before they could do anything else, his right eye glows and he's transported back to the alternate dimension. This time, Yukiko and Hiro were there to stop him. Misuzu buys some time for Kakeru and Yukiko escapes as she fights the victim. Takahisa saves Yukiko from getting eaten in the bathroom. As they rush further away from danger, Kakeru encounters Hiro. Hiro holds him by his neck and throws him away from Yukiko. Kakeru immediately gets back on his feet, holds his sword and gets back in place. He begins to panic as he wonders what he's to do. Just then, one of Misuzu's swords hits the ground from above, and Kakeru remembers Misuzu's teachings. He calms himself and controls his emotions. Suddenly, his right eye activates itself and Kakeru removes his eye patch. Hira tried attacking him, but then Kakeru could already read his movements. He evades all of his attacks until he finds his opening and erases Hira from reality. Lysette wakes up in her crystal and informs the demon boss about the awakening of the Invincible King's power, the Eye of Ain. Moments after delivering that attack, Kakeru's nerve endings fail him for the moment. Kakeru gets a seizure and falls to the ground. As he falls unconscious, Kakeru has a very bad dream. In the dream, he finds himself standing in a labyrinth full of dead bodies with the Invincible King, Berard. Berard introduces himself and promises to bring war and strife to everything Kakeru knows. After getting back to the normal world, everyone gathers around Kakeru to make sure he's okay. Kakeru, on the other hand, struggles for his life as the effects of the Eye of Ain keep taking a toll on his body. Yuka advises taking him to a hospital, but then Misuzu knows that they would be wasting time by doing that. So, she decides to use a secret healing technique to save Kakeru. She sees that everyone is outside and then begins the ritual on Kakeru after stripping him naked. Kyukuri shows up outside shortly and hugs Yuka. Yuka lets down the waterworks while Misuzu recites an incantation to save Kakeru's life. As she recites the incantations, Kakeru's body reacts harshly to her words and soon a magic circle is formed. By that time, everyone was already inside waiting for a miracle to happen. Yuka gets a little sad and blames herself for Kakeru's condition. Apparently, if she'd awakened her own power, then maybe she wouldn't be so dependent on someone else. Eventually, listens to what Misuzu is saying about her. Misuzu also strips herself naked and places her hand on Kakeru's sweaty body. In a split second, her hands glow and Kakeru's eyes finally open again. He gets into another dream with Berard still in the same labyrinth. Berard advises him to give up his life so the pain can stop. However,
when it comes to company apparel, you want a partner who works with you. Cintas has the necessary workwear and apparel for almost any job imaginable, with styles that are comfortable, durable, functional, and look great. And all the garments are laundered and delivered back to your facility every week. The Cintas team is here to support your team every step of the way, so you can be a step ahead. Visit cintas.com/workwear and get ready for the workday.
following morning, Kakeru wakes up pale and hardy. He finds Misuzu sleeping on his leg, completely drained of energy. Yuka, on the other hand, places some food near the entrance and takes a peek into the room to check up on Kakeru. Sadly, she finds Kakeru and Misuzu dangerously close together, stark naked of that too. Yuka gets the wrong idea and returns to the living room. Shortly after, Misuzu wakes up and gets dressed. Although she's a little shaken by the ritual, she still manages to stand. When asked how she healed, Misuzu tells Kakeru that she had to enhance his self-regeneration ability, and his body did the rest. Yukiko wakes up at that moment and gets down to meet Kyukuri. Yukari makes a joke about her rumpled hair, Yukiko gets a good laugh. Soon, Misuzu shows up in the dining room and asks Yuka after greeting the two there. Yukiko tells her Yuka was acting a little strangely earlier, but she's currently outside. Misuzu sighs and thanks Yukiko for bringing the dish outside. Yukiko smiles and tells her Yuka was the one who brought the dishes outside. Just then, Misuzu gets an idea of what's going on. In the meantime, Kakeru finds Yuka on the staircase in the patio outside and approaches her to greet her. Yuka, however, greeted Misuzu with a question without even walking her face. After doing it, she looks at her reflection in the mirror and reminds herself to trust Kakeru. She then joins the others shortly so they can get ready to get to school. She observes the way Kakeru is behaving around Misuzu and becomes completely jealous. She suddenly runs out of the room and heads straight for school. On their way to school, Tadashi gets bullied again by Momono and Kaori again. Just then, Yuka rushes and Kakeru rushes past them. All efforts to call for their attention are futile. All three of them wonder what could be wrong, but then again, it's not their problem. Misuzu and the others also make their way to school. On their way, they discuss Daylight and Kakeru, the Eye of Aim. Apparently, Daylight used to be the strongest in all the land. However, everything changed at one point when he allowed himself to be deceived by a witch who tricked him into destroying his kingdom. After hearing the story from Yukiko, Misuzu gets a sudden flashback and remembers that Lysette is also an immortal witch. Yukiko asks if that's why Yuka was so troubled. Sadly, it wasn't. Kakeru catches up to Yuka on the rooftop. He stops her and asks her what was wrong. Yuka tries to explain herself to him, but thankfully, he gets it. Kakeru reassures her that nothing out of the ordinary happened between them the previous night. However, Yuka asks her to prove it to her by kissing her lips. Sadly, Kakeru isn't ready for such a thing. Meanwhile, Yukiko and Suzu discuss leaving the city to escape. However, Takahisa shows up and tells them about the wall. As they struggle to understand what he is talking about, Seiko shows up to listen to their conversation. However, Takahisa became disrespectful again and Seiko dragged him away. Suzu is left puzzled to figure out what he meant by the wall. Just then, the tingling feeling comes again and they're all teleported to the other dimension. This time, Super Beam had already recruited another Black Knight, Acedia. They urge him not to disappoint him this time around. Misuzu finds everybody except Yuka and hands Kakeru a sword to fight with. Takahisa, on the other hand, defeats the small fry and asks for something stronger. He gets his wish as Nvidia shows up again to take him down. Acedia, on the other hand, faces Misuzu and the others. Before fighting, Misuzu asks Acedia why they call him fragments. However, Acedia refuses to give a straight answer. Instead, he condemns their very existence and wishes they would die. He prepares himself for an attack and uses his fire element. However, Misuzu counters it with water but still gets hit. Kakeru tries to use his right eye again, but this time, he feels the same thing. Yukiko tries to attack, but then, Yukari shows up out of nowhere and uses her spirit chains to puncture and slice Acedia to pieces. Acedia's body gets back up and the Scholastica element powering the Black Force freezes, leaving Nvidia alone to fight all five. Shortly after Nvidia flees the scene to tell them the bad news. Turns out Yuka Kakeru races to the infirmary immediately to save Yuka. As she races past the kingdom, she's recalling the lets out a terrifying scream. Kakeru, others finally get to the infirmary, but unfortunately, they find the place completely destroyed. Kakeru searches the rubble desperately to find Yuka. However, Yukiko calms his balls, telling him that she doesn't smell blood. To make the search easier, Misuzu decides to split up the team just so they can find her. Since Takahisa looks quite beaten, Misuzu tells them to search the school for Yuka while they search the other places. If they can find her there, Takahisa is to send a flame signal for everyone to reconvene in front of the infirmary. After that, the team split up and headed out to search for Yuka. Elsewhere, Lysette wakes up from her eternal sleep and checks around to make sure no one is in the room with her. She then notices a crack in the crystal she was imprisoned in and begins to enlarge the crack little by little. Kakeru staggers a little as he searches the school desperately for Yuka. Takahisa holds him back up to make sure he's okay. He recalls his last memory with Yuka and feels bad for chickening out at the last moment. Takahisa chuckles and tells him not to feel bad about himself. He's also tried asking Yukiko out once in the past. However, Yukiko couldn't accept him because of her dark past. She fears Takahisa would look at her differently if he finds out about the horrible things she did in the past. Takahisa smiles and accepts his fate. Just then, some little demons attack them in the classroom they're in. Takahisa takes care of the demons and paves the way forward. Misuzu, on the other hand, is seen inching closer and closer to the center of the dimension. She takes a look at the black moon and realizes that it's getting closer to the ground. In the meantime, Yukiko, while searching for Yuka, finds some demons feasting on a body. She ignores them and walks forward a little bit. She finds Yuka speaking to herself up front and gets closer to her. At that moment, Aberration notices the witch's attempted escape. So, he leaves taking care of the fragments and heads back to the prison to prevent the witch from escaping. After he's gone, Superbia summons Nvidia to come help them fight. Elsewhere, Yukiko sits down with Yuka to discuss things with her. Yuka expresses her sadness over how powerless she is. Yukiko, however, tells her not to worry too much about such a thing. Instead, she should be glad that she has someone to protect her through and through. She then tries to cheer Yuka up. However, when she sees that it's not working, she decides to tell Yuka her past. Things weren't always so rosy for Yukiko. As a youngster, she was forced to live a life of strife and war due to her immortality. The village she was living in Dress mainly utilized her as a weapon of mass destruction. Yukiko had no choice but to follow orders as she believed she was protecting her family and friends. She killed massive amounts of people in her lifetime, created the alternate personality that only takes over her when she takes her glasses off. She walks forward and begs Yuka to be content with her sanity so she doesn't turn out to be like her younger self. Yuka realizes the truth of Yukiko's words and rushes up to hug her with tears in her eyes. In the next scene, Aberration returns to the room, strengthening the crystal's tracking set. His power causes a bright white light to show above the room, a white light that all the students can see. But by that point, Superbia was already busy reviving Scholastica to get back to fighting through. She puts the poor Black Knight into a world of pain and throws him in front of Kakeru and Takahisa. After he disappears, Superbia appears from behind him and attacks. Kakeru and Takahisa are unharmed in her initial attack, but then again, they're well aware of her presence now. Misuzu arrives just in time to give Kakeru one of her swords. Now that they're through, they stand a better chance of defeating Superbia. Superbia gains the playing field by summoning Nvidia to come forward and join the fight. Nvidia shows up shortly and disappears in thin air. Kakeru uses his Eye of Moon's power to predict the future and figure out her next attack. Split second. Nvidia attacks and dodges the power of the however, Nvidia dodges the attack and saves and prepares for another one. Misuzu a little discussion to find her doing Misuzu finds out that Superbia is the lost swordswoman that she adored when she was young. She calls her out and makes her reveal herself to be Masoa Kusumi. Misuzu is devastated as nothing seems to be making sense at the moment. Takahisa manages to land a hit on Nvidia's back to disable her for a little while. Kyukuri shows up just in time and uses her spirit chains to lock Nvidia and render her useless. After realizing that Misuzu isn't in a good condition to fight, Superbia leaves the fragments in Nvidia's hands. Nvidia decides to use her last resort. She creates a barrier entrapping Kakeru and everyone in with her while she activates her self-destruct button. All efforts to stop her in the barrier are proven futile. Just as she's about to blow herself up, Yuka shows and awakens her power. From the top of the school's building, she lets out another terrifying scream and lets out a pink light that nullifies both Nvidia's explosive power and her allies' power. Nvidia is now rendered completely useless. Yukiko quickly kills her to prevent her from causing any more harm. As Nvidia's moving terror, Yuka smiles as she is finally able to protect Kakeru. She kills a while later at the building where she was. The next scene shows a have to be destroyed to prevent great evil from befalling the world. The next morning, Yuka wakes up and finds Kakeru sitting near her bed. Kakeru, who was fast asleep, wakes up immediately and thanks Yuka for saving everyone back in the alternate dimension. Elsewhere, Misuzu and Kyukuri discuss Yukiko's whereabouts. Once she finds out Yukiko is in her wish, Misuzu decides to stay home for the day so everyone can get some rest. Soon after, she asks Kyukuri to go get her some tea so she heads out of the room. When she's gone, Takahisa asks Misuzu for her thoughts about Yuka's newfound power. Misuzu tells him that although her power is quite dangerous, she fears Yuka may have to use it once again in the future. She then moves on to do some other things that piss Takahisa off. Walks out on the The franchise, streaming exclusively on Max.
A small business insurance number.
When it's time to insure, be sure. SimplyBusiness.com. Kiri had intended to tell Kakeru that she no longer remembered her own past. Takahisa heads over to Yukiko's room to check up on her. Kakeru, however, heads outside and finds Suzu staring into the abyss. She warns Kakeru to keep his guard as she senses those black knights to be around her this evening. Kakeru takes her word for it and promises to stay alert. Meanwhile, Yukiko complains to Takahisa, telling him something she did to Kakeru while in the alternate dimension. Apparently, while she was transformed to her other self, she wounded Kakeru on his back, so now she fears that she may lose control of herself. Takahisa stops her there and urges her not to worry too much about things that don't matter. What she should be worried about is how to win their fight with the Black Knights. Yukiko gets a little emotional and admits her love to everyone. Takahisa gets irritated and tries to leave the room. However, Yukiko reminds him of the people like Seiko, who also love him and wish him well. Up next, Misuzu and Kakeru meet up in the dojo near the house to discuss the forbidden magic technique. They knew that Misao, Aka Superbia, even when she was little. Misuzu tells Kakeru about her recent realization that Misao is Superbia. However, Kakeru didn't believe her initially as Misao would have died a long time ago. Misuzu, however, reminds him of the nature of time in the alternate dimension. Since time practically comes to a stop in the dimension, it's very possible that Misao is Superbia. Kakeru begins to connect all the dots and it suddenly makes sense. Misuzu then shows him the mark that was carved into her body as a warning a few days before their first meeting in the Red Knight. At present, she's in no position to defeat her. However, if Kakeru can drink her own blood, then maybe they can stand a chance. Misuzu slashes her hand and urges Kakeru to drink it. Kakeru drinks the blood without knowing that Yuka is just outside the door spying on Misuzu. Immediately, she sees Kakeru sucking something from Misuzu's hand, and she faints. After that, a flashback is shown where the witch Lysette stares at the moon with her glowing light vision, calling the name of her lover, Vero. On his way to school the following morning, Takahisa runs into his foster mother, who drags his ear to the infirmary again. After getting scolded, Takahisa apologizes and asks for her permission to go somewhere to his friend's place. Seiko gets a little emotional and begins to reminisce on old times. Takahisa asks her to get off and so he can move on to class. Seiko obliges and he takes his leave. While in class, Tadashi pulls a love letter stuck in class. He makes his love letter into a paper plane and throws it at Momono. Momono tears the letter to pieces and embarrasses the class clown, Tadashi, in front of everyone. Soon after, she feels something weird and takes a bathroom break. After she's granted, Momono heads outside and sees a black crow watching over her. She destroys the bird and continues moving on. Back in the dojo, Yuka wakes up and hears the sound of wooden swords flashing in the room inside. Upon checking, she finds the duo coming at each other like they were enemies. In the end, Kakeru smacks his senpai on the head and wounds her. Yuka quickly hurries in and gives her a napkin to clean her blood with. As she does that, Yuka bends down and licks Misuzu's blood off her forehead, thereby freaking everybody out. In the next scene, Yukiko shows up in school to meet Takahisa and apologize for her behavior earlier on. Takahisa urges her to take the things she could explain herself. He never for once thought any less of her sister. Yukiko drops her drink and hugs Takahisa tightly with tears on her face. Seiko gets out of her hiding place and smiles at her foster son. Takahisa thanks her as she walks out. Good luck. At that time, Misuzu and Kyuko leave Kakeru and Yuka alone in the house as they head off to find Yukiko. On their way, Misuzu gets curious and asks Kyukuri if Kakeru in the past. Rather than answer, Kyukuri just stares blankly at Misuzu and keeps walking. In the meantime, Kakeru is seen protecting Yuka from Elizabeth. As she hugs him, Yuka wishes they could be like that forever. However, they hear something move in the corridor and Kakeru gets up to check it out, despite Yuka warning him not to. Kakeru gets to the top and finds Momono waiting for him. When she finally sees him, she attacks him and introduces herself as a warrior from the Holy Office of the Index. She tells Kakeru her truth, which is Ursula of the Demon, and explains further that she was sent there to investigate the demon's awakening. Takahisa and Yukiko roam around the school's chat, discussing the heel Seiko was consistent to later that day. They get to Seiko's office and open the door to check up on her. What they find is totally unexpected. Takahisa and Yukiko find Seiko's blood body hanging upside down with two different blades sunk into her. Takahisa initially thinks reality was playing a trick on her.
However, he soon believes it to be real when he finds Superbia near the body smiling at him and Yukiko. Superbia removes her swords from Seiko's body and makes a move to attack Kakeru. Yukiko removes her glasses and lets her alternate personality take over just so she can stop Superbia. In the next scene, Kakeru uses his eyes' power to predict Momono's moves. He dodges all her attacks and asks for her to support. Momono releases her levitation spell and admits to herself that indeed Kakeru has grown into a formidable force. Meanwhile, Kakeru holds his head across the mother of his head. He loses control over his powers and lets himself loose. Superbia takes the fight outside and the attackers of Hollister. The Suzu, while on their way to their destination, recall their recent experience in the alternate dimension. The time when Nvidia tried to kill herself. Suzu realizes just how badly the enemy wants them dead. For this to happen now, this could only mean that they're testing their team. Suddenly, the city's emergency alarm starts blaring and Kiko shows up. Suzu notices her demeanor and asks her what happened. Before she can say anything, Momono started destroying the city. In the meantime, Momono keeps talking in parables, telling Kakeru that the only way to destroy the evenly awakened. Kakeru asks for a clearer explanation, but before she can give it, she finds a lizard sent there by the Black Knights to eavesdrop on their conversation. Momono destroys the lizard and realizes her mistake. Just then, Superbia arrives at Misuzu's residence. After hearing about Seiko's death from Yukiko, Misuzu decides they have to do something about Takemisa as soon as possible. Moreover, Misuzu rushes back to her house. On her way there, she gets a very hard feeling, almost as if something bad happened. She arrives at her house in time to arm herself with Kakeru. Superbia again levels the playing field by summoning Black Knight's Kakeru. And his peers formally defeated. Kakeru heads off to fight the knights while Misuzu fights Superbia in her human form. As she faces her idol in battle, Misuzu knows she has to fight like her life depends on it. She can't afford to lose. As she observes her surroundings a little, she notices the strong aura around the south. She searched the field for her ally but couldn't find any. Somewhere within the city, Yukiko finds Takemisa throwing his fireballs at an illusion of Superbia. She begs him to stop destroying the city, but sadly, it is already too late to control himself. Despite Yukiko's prayers, his powers refuse to subside. He eventually succumbs to doing the impossible, which is to attack Yukiko and have her kill him out of self-defense. Maybe that would finally put an end to his miserable life. He shoots and intentionally misses Yukiko, forcing her to take off her glasses. When she does, the Red Knight appears and everyone's transported to another world. Momono gets inside the house and finds Yuka sitting and waiting for Kakeru. Momono tells her that her boyfriend is currently fighting the enemy for the fate of the world. Yuka gets up immediately and tries to go find Kakeru. However, Momono stops her and asks her to allow Kakeru to fight this fight on his own. Yuka understands at once and she heads back to her seat. By that time, Kakeru destroyed the makeshift Akidia that Superbia made. He joins Misuzu back on the battlefield to face the invincible Misaki. While sipping tea and listening to Yuka's story of herself and Kakeru, the house suddenly shakes and Momono checks outside. Hoping things are okay, Kakeru, who's still fighting on the battlefield, uses his power again and feels the after effects. Kyukuri shows up to help and Misuzu guards in her sword to come to help her in her fight against Misaki. To her surprise, Superbia, Akamiso, breaks her sword in half and renders her useless. Misuzu stands there shocked and open to attacks. Superbia finds her opening and tries to end Misuzu once and for all. However, Kakeru used his eyes to predict her move again and managed to stop her sword from hitting Misuzu with his own sword. Superbia realizes that Kakeru has drunk Misuzu's blood, so she retreats for now and sends them out of the alternate dimension. Once she's gone, Kakeru takes Misuzu back to the house. There, they meet with Momono, who explains the whole truth to them. Momono explains to them that the Black Knights they've been fighting against are actually the good guys sent by the Holy Office to keep Lyset at bay. As for Superbia, Momono asks Misuzu to enlighten them about her more. Misuzu, however, buries her head in her hands and cries about her powerlessness in fighting Superbia that day. In the meantime, Kyukuri is seen in Yukiko's room comforting the troubled girl after losing the love of her life, Takemisa. Kyukuri opts to use magic to induce sleep and Yukiko says she's too distraught to put herself to sleep. Momono, on the other hand, keeps explaining the nature of all the students to them. Apparently, The Black Knights were coming after them to destroy the fragments of the Demon Stone of the Void, which holds vast power. When asked what that means, Momono tells them that they all have about 7 different Demon Void Stones embedded into their bodies. Herself, and the witch, Lyset included. After listening to the names of all the different fragment stones, Kakeru asks her if the fragment stones are that powerful. Momono explains that the stones are quite powerless when they're apart. The real problem is what happens when they're combined into one stone. If that happens, then Lyset, who's the mastermind behind all this happening, would have all the power to destroy the world. Way back before she was sealed, Lyset, or Lyslon, had always been planning to destroy the world ever since her lover, Verard, died. To stop her from wiping humanity, the Holy Office of the Index was created. They managed to break her power into 7 different fragments and send them off into 7 separate worlds. If she's to regain her power, she would need all 7 fragments to gather in one place. Kakeru thinks about this a little and asks Momono what happens now that Takahisa has been killed. Would this mean that she can't destroy the world anymore? Momono tells him that although Takahisa is dead, Lyset can still activate the Pitfall of Hades and destroy the world using Kakeru's Eye of Aim. Yuka interrupts their discussion and brings them all some tea to cool off. Isuzu takes her own tea and gets a little worried about their chances in this coming battle. Then, she takes her own tea and finds the river inside. This must be Yuka excuses herself and heads back to her quarters. After she's gone, Yuka bends down and asks Kakeru to sleep with her. Kakeru sidesteps her question and gets outside the door. Soon after, Yuka approaches him in her underwear and tries to get him to sleep. Kakeru refuses to do such a thing, but then Momono advises what Yuka says so they can continue their discussion. Kakeru lets Yuka sleep on his body while Momono continues her explanation. She tells Kakeru about Lyset and Verard's relationship back when things were rosy for the witch. Kakeru was very shocked that a witch like that could fall in love. Moving on, she mentions that Verard was eventually killed by one of his own men. Hearing this, Lyset drowned herself in sorrow and decided to carry out her lover's wish, which was to destroy the world. She began her conquest to send the world to the ground. However, the Holy Knights were there to stop her. 64 years ago, some of the disciples managed to seal her off into the alternate dimension. They sacrificed themselves for the sake of the world, transformed into horrible beings now known as the Black Knights. Momono continues and tells Kakeru the reason why the Black Knights are so intent on killing her. As it seems, they fear that Kakeru isn't strong enough to control the Eye of Aim and the power fully awakens. To avoid taking any risks, they set out to kill the vessel of the Eye of Aim before it's too late. Momono admits that she was also sent to kill Kakeru. Initially, she didn't think much of the world. However, after seeing the world and the people striving to make something of themselves, she changes her mind and decides to put her faith in Kakeru's strength. She believes Kakeru has what it takes to control Verard in the Eye of Aim. Kakeru thanks her and promises not to let her down. Later on, he gets back inside to check up on Yukiko. He finds that she's asleep and leaves her be. On his way back to his own room, Yukari stops him to ask if he's alright. Kakeru assures her that he's good to go. Then, he apologizes for being harsh to her the other day. Yukari accepts his apology and lets him go. Next up, Kakeru visits Isuzu in her dojo. There, he finds her staring at a bleak candlelight and asks her what the matter is. Isuzu recounts just how powerless she felt when she faced Misao back on the battlefield. Misao is a person who learns from people. She, on the other hand, learned all she knows in isolation. She regrets not being strong enough to bring Misao down and wishes that she got stronger through the years. Kakeru stops her from her demeaning remarks and reminds her to always keep calm and find the silver lining out of every bad situation. Suddenly, Isuzu's face lights up and she thanks Kakeru for helping her out of her problem. As a reward, she cuts herself and urges Kakeru to come suck a little of her blood. When he does, she hugs him tightly and cries softly. When she's done, she and Kakeru head back to the living room. Kakeru finds Yuka there sitting and waiting for him and talks to her. Yuka, after seeing Isuzu enter the room, takes Kakeru out to another room. Meanwhile, Yukiko gives Takahisa one last look and finally realizes that she is in love with him. This makes her cry as she's sad she didn't realize it sooner. While they're gone, Momono takes her time to explain the concept of the forbidden magic the Holy Knights used to divide and seal Lyset's power. Apparently, the magic seal caused her power to be broken into 7 different fragments that they sent to 7 different dimensions. These fragments, which were embedded in them all, were summoned into the Red Knight and unfortunately returned to the same world shortly after. Momono explains that she's been trying to find out why but just couldn't figure it out. At that instant, Yuka desperately tries to kiss Kakeru. This time, Kakarot graces her lips with his and enjoys the moment. On the other hand, Misuzu keeps wondering whose world they're all in. After their kiss, Yuka urges Kakarot to forget about his dead sister and embrace her instead. Kakarot considers doing such a thing, and Kukuri simultaneously disappears near Misuzu. Before they can make sense of anything, the Red Knight teleports them to the other dimension. Misuzu searches Yukiko's room for her but doesn't find her there. Apparently, she'd already gone to the Crystal Tower to handle Super Beam and Avarisha by herself. While the others go to search for her, Yuka urges Kakarot to stay behind with her. Just then, some demons show up and attack them, but Yuka uses all her power to stop them and faints for a little while. Kakarot places her in a locker and goes after the others to search for Yukiko. Yukiko, however, gets caught in one of Super Beam's traps and is nearly killed. Super Beam stabs her with her sword and leaves her for dead. Realizing that she could heal herself with her fragment stone, Super Beam takes the stone from her stomach, leaves her lying in a puddle of her own blood. Kakarot and the others arrive by that time and attack Super Beam. They manage to cut off the stone from her hand. Yuka picks up the stone and throws it to Lysette. Lysette takes the stone and merges it with herself. She gains some of her power back, which she uses to break herself out of the crystal prison and return to her kingdom. She condemns the fragments of her power smiling at her and checks her side to see Yuka smiling, thanking her stars for freeing the witch. Kakarot keeps wondering why Yuka would do such a thing. However, Yuka only looks at him and smiles. Kakarot uses his eye to see the future. In the one he sees, Yuka is stabbed by Lysette and her fragment Void Stone stolen from her. Kakarot tries to save Yuka, but it's already too late as Yuka is already going unconscious. Eventually, Kakarot loses Yuka in his own office. He screams out in his loud voice as he mourns his dead friend. Lysette moves on to take the remaining Void Stones in the Eye of Ea. However, Avarisha isn't the one to let them go. So, he opens a portal and transports them all to another region of the alternate dimension. Only Momono stayed behind to stop Lysette. Kakarot and Misuzu, on the other hand, appear in a desolate part of town as Kakarot keeps shouting Yuka's name. Misuzu urges him to calm down and keep his wits about him. When he's calm, she explains the concept of the 7 realms to dimensions depending on their currently in Yuka's world. Kakarot decides to confirm whether or not Yuka's existence is still in this world. So, he calls his friends, Tadashi and Kaori, to meet Kakarot. Kakarot asks them if they still remember Yuka, and they tell him yes. Realizing that she's still alive, Kakarot heaves a sigh of relief. The look on his face makes Misuzu a little disappointed. Still, she decides to go with Kakarot's wish without any complaint. Up next, the fight between the witch and humanity's last hope begins. Avarisha transforms himself into a dragon and shoots fireballs at Lysette. However, Lysette counters the magic with attacks of her own. Misuzu and Kakarot convene at the school to discuss strategy. Misuzu reminds Kakarot not to be too reckless as Lysette could still use his eye to open the pitfall to Hades. With a sad look on her face, she manages to convince herself to fight alongside Kakarot, even if he doesn't love her the way she loves him. High up in the Red Knight, Lysette tries stealing Momono's fragment away from her. However, Kakarot's sister's darkness joins the fight and prevents her from doing it. Lysette welcomes her to the team and prepares herself to fight all 3 of them at once. Misuzu and Kakarot get to the top of the tower to check their world one more time. They see the Black Moon get dangerously close to the Earth and prepare themselves to fight. Misuzu tells Kakarot to be ready to fight Lysette to win when she finally comes for his eye. By that time, Lysette gets pinned by Super and leads her directly to Avarisha's fireball. Avarisha fires one gigantic fireball that affects both Lysette and Super Beam. The resulting pain makes Super Beam scream her lungs out. In the meantime, Kakarot gets cold feet and realizes that they can't win against Lysette. Now when they're Misuzu comes up with a weird idea, an idea that allows them to keep the rings and be one together by having sexual relations. Kakarot realizes what she's trying to say. So, he steps back and refuses to do such a thing. However, Misuzu gets very close to him and promises to die for him in her next battle. Kakarot finally succumbs to Misuzu's compulsion. In the next scene, Misuzu and Kakarot are seen naked and doing a love ritual. They keep at it for minutes on end until a path to the Red Knight opens in front of them. Before they can go through it, however, Misao shows up and breaks the guy's nose with an average. The only person she loves in this world is Lysette. There's no need to wait for her. She tells them that Momono took her own life and Lysette is on her way there to recover the Eye of Ea. Just then, she lets out a depressing laughter and disappears. Shortly after, Yuka passes through the pathway to meet Kakarot. She tricks Kakaroo into coming close to her. Little did Kakaroo know that that wasn't really Yuka. When he finds out, it's already too late. Lysette stabs Kakaroo with her sword and hugs her. She welcomes her Berard back to reality and wishes to take the eye for herself. Flashback to the medieval times. Berard and the witch, Lyslot, stand atop a building as they gaze upon their burning land. Lyslot hugs her king and urges him to destroy the humans. After the flashback ends, Lyslot takes the Eye of Ain for herself and begins the destruction of the entire world. Moments before the world faces total destruction, Kakaroo pauses his prediction for the Eye of Ain. Turns out all the things that happened. The love ritual with Misuzu, Yuka dying, and the like all never happened as Kakaroo was just seeing into the future. Once he's regained his sight, Kakaroo makes a stand against Lysette. Since he already knows what will happen, he makes sure to save Yuka first before worrying about what will happen to himself. Lysette sees this and turns over to attack Kakaroo. Kakaroo unsheathes his sword and decides to use his but he kills himself. Then the Eye of Ain dies with him and Lysette's plan gets spoiled forever. Kakaroo turns his sword and stabs his neck. Suddenly, he finds himself in one of his childhood memories. In this memory, it's Christmas and Kakaroo stands in front of a window pane, checks out his elder sister supervising the children as if it was Christmas. He walks a few meters forward and finds his younger self in a room reading a book on his own. Shortly after, little Yuka walks in to check up on him. She asks him for the book he's reading and Kakaroo tells her a little information from the book. Yuka laughs and pets his head. Just then, Kakaroo is taken to another memory. This time, the professor from avoiding his school to put tacks into his shoes. After school that day, Yuka went to visit Kakaroo. His elder sister found her by the entrance and asked what she was doing. Yuka tells her she's there to see Kakaroo. Soon after, Kakaroo opens the door and Yuka enters the house to play with. After the death of his sister, Kakaroo finds himself pushing everybody away from himself. Only Yuka was there for him. At this point, Kakaroo begins to tear up as he just realizes how much Yuka did for him in the past. He wakes up to reality and finds himself sleeping close to Yuka with Misuzu near him. Misuzu tells him that Yuka had used her power to nullify the sword moments before it got into his throat. Unleashing her power made Lyslot lose her power as well. In a split second, Momono teleported them to the room they were in and made sure they were alright. Misuzu scolds Kakaroo for trying to end his own life. Kakaroo frowns and suddenly recalls all the memories he just experienced. He strengthens his resolve and promises to be there for Yuka till the very end. Misuzu gets up and sheds a little tear for she knows the person she loves so much doesn't love her back. Just then, Momono and Abraxas arrive in the room. Misuzu is shocked to see Kukuri, so they ask her about her identity. Abraxas introduces herself and urges Momono to tell them the entire truth. Turns out Momono could actually travel through space and time. Over the years, she traveled to all 6 different worlds alongside this one, and told all the Kukuris in those worlds the truth. This means that if she hadn't told Kakaroo's sister the entire truth, then maybe she wouldn't have had the urge to end her life, as Kukuri killed herself to keep the fragment stones safe. She even attempted to kill her brother, Kakaroo, as well, just so that the Eye of Ain would be lost forever. Hearing this, Kakaroo is understandably shaken and annoyed at Momono. Just then, Abraxas admits to killing one of the Kakuris in the world. However, Kakaroo turned out to be just a normal human and not the holder of the Eye of Ain. Momono moves on and explains that she initially told all the Kukuris in the world simply because she didn't know which Kakaroo had the Eye of Ain. At this point, Kakaroo gets seriously pissed, but he calms down a little. Misuzu checks the clock beside her and finds out that it's actually running. Before she says anything, Yuka is abducted by the witch and taken to the rooftop of the school. When they get to the rooftop, they find the witch Lysette there. Lysette orders Kakaroo to come forward if he still wants to see Yuka alive. Kakaroo inches closer to her and Lysette licks his eyes. Suddenly, the Eye of Ain begins to react to Lysette's touch and the Black Knights show up to help. After the big fight, Momono dies and surrenders her fragment to be used by the lot. Kakaroo collects the fragment from Abraxas before she disappears. Superbia explains the reason why Momono surrendered her fragment. Since Momono can travel through space and time, she can use her power to send Lysette to the gap between dimensions. This way, she would be trapped in limbo forever. Misuzu recites some incantations and summons the life-eating sword, Yasutu. She is prepared to sacrifice herself to save Kakaroo. By that point, Lysette had already beaten Aberration. The Red Knight returns and Lysette now faces Kakaroo. The duo have a little discussion about morals and Kakaroo tries to get her to stop her plans before it's too late. The Solette, however, refuses to listen to him. She raises her hands to attack Kakaroo, but then Berard appears through the Eye of Ain and asks his lover to stop trying to take over the world. He was wrong to write off humans in the first place. Lyslot refuses to listen to them. Instead, she tried one more time to steal the Eye of Aeon. However, this time, Misuzu and Superbia, Akamasao are there to protect him. They manage to send her away from the Eye. Kakeru appears near her and tries to use Momono's fragment to send her into limbo. Avarisha shows up shortly and holds Lyslot there, forcing her to get into limbo with her. With her lover gone, Misao is left with nothing. Yuka is freed from her crystal cave and rushes to hug her lover. At that time, the Red Knight alternate dimension begins to collapse. Misao quickly teleports them all to another world completely different from the initial one. In this world, Yuka and Kakeru have all their friends alive and well. Takahisa, Yukiko, Seiko, Tadashi, and Kaori. The two decide to live peacefully and completely forget about their former world or the Red Knight. Kakeru still has his Eye of Aeon, but this time, he covers it completely and hopes to never use it again.
Check out these deals of the week at Walgreens.